Hi guys, I'm Marta.
And I'm Diliana.
And welcome to Velvet Violence, the podcast where two friends are chilling on a sofa on a Sunday afternoon and talk about crimes. Because apparently, that's what normal people do. So grab a drink, get comfy, and join us as we chat.
Hi guys, let's just make one thing clear before we step into the darkness. We're not detectives or lawyers. We don't solve crimes. We're just emotionally processing them with a microphone. This podcast is a retelling of real events using publicly available sources wrapped into our own narrative style. It's a commentary, not a courtroom. So relax and please don't come after us. We've seen enough true crime to know that never ends well. Tonight, we dive into a case of obsession, lies, and a life slowly unraveling behind closed doors. A story where fantasy blurred into reality, where family trust collapsed, and one decision changed everything forever. This isn't a movie script, it's not a fiction. It's a real story told piece by piece through evidence, timelines, and the choices that led to tragedy. How did it get so far, and could it have been prevented? This is the story of Grant Amato. Alright, so today I wanna take you to Chuluota, Florida, back in January 2019. It all started with a simple welfare check. Cody Amato, a 31-year-old nurse, didn't show up for his shift. His colleagues and friends quickly got very worried because Cody was the type of guy that he would always be there. He would also answer his calls, his texts, so it was very unusual for him. And they called the police, they requested a wellness check, and the police went to Amato's house. Everything seemed perfectly normal from the outside. The only problem was they couldn't actually see inside because there was some kind of paper on the windows, I guess. The cars were there though, so obviously they expect someone to be inside. They knocked on the door, they tried everything to contact anyone inside, but with no luck. So they requested a permission for them to get into the house. Once they got inside, it was like a horror show. Cody Amato, his mother Margaret Amato, and his father Chad Amato, they were all dead. Executed in different parts of the house. So naturally, police started digging into the family and they quickly realized there was one more person living in that house at the time. And that was the youngest brother, Grant Amato. He was nowhere to be found though. When they started the investigation, they quickly found out that Grant Amato, he was 29 years old. He was jobless. He recently got kicked out of his job for some pretty shady behavior involving stealing medication. He was working as a nurse also. They quickly realized he wasn't just a failed student or a jobless guy living with his parents. He was leading completely different life online. Grant has spent a lot, and I mean a lot of money. He didn't spend it on gambling or cars or anything like that. Not even drugs, because that's what the first thing came on my mind was like what he was spending those money on. The reason he was stealing money from his family was his online obsession with a girl named Sylvia Vencislavova. I'm not even sure that was her real name, but she was a webcam model on a website called My Free Cams. His family, they did try their best to help him out, to try to save him from that complete madness. They took him to rehab. They paid a lot of money for that also, but nothing seems to help. So on that final night of the murders, everything just shattered because of one last text sent. After a 24-hour manhunt for Grant, the police managed to track his license plate to a DoubleTree hotel in Orange County, Florida. They arrested him with one purpose: to question him. His behavior was quite shady. They took him for questioning. They started asking him what happened that day. When did he leave the house? What happened to his family? They even showed him pictures of the crime scene later on, but he denied anything to do with it. They even brought his older brother, Jason, to talk to him. That didn't help at all, because Grant kept denying, and the police have no evidence, and they had to release him the next morning. After he was released, the police investigation obviously continues. They start finding more and more evidence, and by the morning of January 28th, the police had enough digital and physical evidence to go and arrest Grant. So they did just that. When they found him in his hotel, though, they also found leather gloves, they found his passport, they found stolen credit cards, debit cards, and they also found a note. They did charge him with 3 counts of premeditated murder, and they arrested him that day. What makes this case so eerie, it's not necessarily just the violence, it's the slow build-up, it's the slow unraveling, and the late-night internet use. Also, all the arguments over money, and it was a lot of them, a lot. And it's just that fantasy that sadly became more important than reality.
We can start from the parents and his upbringing. You did mention that he had a brother, Cody, mom Margaret, and Chad, his father.
Family. It was family of 5. They were all in the medical field. Grant Amato, he was clinical pharmacist, so quite high-paid job. And Margaret also, she was a physical therapist, from what I read about her. They had a quite big house in Florida.
Looks like a mansion.
Yeah, isn't it? Like Home Alone house. They were the type of family, they were so close with each other. The oldest child was Jason Amato. He was actually Margaret's child from previous relationship, but he got adopted by Chad at very young age. He was around 3 to 4 years old when he was adopted. So basically Chad is the only father that he knew. I didn't find any information about Jason's real father, but it's not even important in the case. And as I said, Chad was his father, and that's the way he knew him, as his dad. And then they had 2 more children together. Cody Amato, he was the middle child. He was very kind person, very outgoing since he was young. Since he was a toddler, then into high school, and then into university. And Grant Amato, he was the youngest child. Him and Cody, they only had 1 year apart, so they was very close age. They were like best friends. And the family, they were so close. They used to do everything together. They used to go on holidays. They used to go cycling, hiking. They also, the boys, they used to love anything to do with computers, because that came actually from their dad. He used to build computers from scratch. So they were all into that because of him. They also had another hobby together. When the boys grew up a little bit, they used to love going to the shooting range. They had a lot of guns in the house also, but I guess that's normal for American family. And Cody and Grant, they used to do everything together. They went to high school together. Later on they went to university together. And I'm saying that just because Jason, the older son, he moved out quite at early age, around 18 years old. So you can imagine, he finished school, he started his own life. He was in a relationship, he had his own family. So he moved out of the house. So he wasn't really, he was still close with them in a way, like they would always be together for Christmas and all the birthdays and everything, but he just wasn't living with them.
Yeah.
And as I said, Cody was the outgoing person. He was the one he was kind of like the peacemaker of the home. So he kept everyone so close. And because I read somewhere that he was lightening up the room when he walked in. He could start a conversation with anyone. Where Grant, the youngest child, he was a bit odd. He wasn't very social. He wasn't talking a lot, and I can tell you that just he even have that look like the odd kid. But that didn't make him not have friends though, because Cody, he had a lot of friends. So Cody would go out, would do stuff, but he would never isolate Grant. He would always take him with him. So that's how Grant just always had his brother's back, and vice versa. They were just like doing everything together, went to high school together. Later on, Cody went to University of Florida, and Grant, 1 year later, he went there as well. So you can kind of tell that they were like walking the steps of their parents. They wanted to be in the medical field, to graduate. So Cody was actually studying to become a nurse. So did Grant later on. As I said, Grant didn't have that in him, to talk to people and to be social in a way. There was nothing unusual in his upbringing. Like, everything seemed perfectly normal. Because, as I said, his family, they love their children, and all their life they used to save money to make their life easier later on when they retire, to help their children, like to follow a normal life in a way, and not to have to worry about the financial aspect of life.
Yeah, it seems like it was a very stable and loving family.
Definitely it was, yeah.
You've mentioned that Grant was fired, and it was something to do with medication that been stolen?
That's crazy actually, because as I said, Cody and Grant, they both went to university to graduate and to become nurses. So Cody actually graduated and he found a great job as a nurse. Grant, though, he dropped out. He couldn't finish university, but he also managed to find a job. He had that job for 2-3 years. He was a nurse. It wasn't as good paid as Cody's job, but in 2018, in the summer, he got fired and he actually got arrested for the first time because he was stealing propofol. I don't know what you're aware, if you're aware what's that. But propofol is like a medication that it's like puts you to sleep, kind of.
Right. So like a hard sleeping pill, basically.
I don't know if you've read about Michael Jackson, but he was addicted to that. He was using that for his insomnia.
Ah, okay.
So that's what kind of medication that is. And apparently, what I've read is Grant was using that to drug his patients at his night shifts when he didn't want to deal with them.
Oh my God.
And he stole a lot, like it was $2,000 worth of that medication. And when the hospital found out, they obviously fired him, but he also got arrested. But later on, Cody, his brother, he paid his legal fees, his counsel, and the charges were dropped. But I don't think they were dropped because of that. I think actually the hospital got a bit worried, like that they will be in trouble, because how they didn't realize that
Yeah.
much of that medication was missing.
Of course.
It just shows you what kind of person he was, like really drugging your patients just because so you can chill and not deal with anyone. It's like, why you chose that profession then?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, when I read that, I was really thinking I would be afraid to be hospitalized if there is people like that out there.
Yeah, no, same.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe that was the point that he found Sylvie. But how? What's happened? You've mentioned my free cams, yeah,
Yes,
my free
that
cams
was the
website.
So he didn't just stumble to that website out of nowhere. He actually wanted to make a career for himself by streaming online.
Right.
As I told you, they were really into computers, all of them. I'm not sure about the mom, but she still had a laptop though. But yeah.
I'm into computers.
Yeah. But yeah, he wanted to proceed with that career. I think Twitch was very, very going on at the time, and he wanted to stream on Twitch. So, but bear in mind, he's jobless. He doesn't have money for the setup he needs or anything. So his family paid for all that, which I kind of understand because they're trying to be supportive. He lost his job, and obviously not for a good reason, but they would try and help him with anything he needed.
They wanted to help him to stand up on his feet and just try to get an income, you know?
Yeah, and they believed him, I guess, when he said that. And by everything that I've read, I think he really wanted to do that, but didn't work out so well. So he wasn't making money out of it or anything, because I guess you need the audience, you need to be good at what you're doing. And I'm not saying he wasn't, I'm just saying that he wasn't earning any money out of it. And yeah, at some point he just stumbled on that website, My Free Cams, which when I had no idea what's that, but when I went on that website, it's pretty much a website that majority is people getting paid for talking to people, but it can go as far as like people doing porn and like striptease, cosplay, and role play and all that. It's kind of like OnlyFans, but you need to pay for everything, like to talk to people, and that's where he met Sylvie. So Sylvie, she was going by Adi Sweet, and he met her, he started talking to her constantly, and I think he fell in love with her since the very beginning. He was fascinated with that girl, and she was from Bulgaria, apparently. Even though I read on her different profiles here and there, on some places she was saying she was from Hungary and all that, but the official information that I could find, it was that she was Bulgarian and her name was Sylvia Venceslavova. So Grant was very smitten by her. He used to pay so much money just to talk to her in the beginning, because she was charging 90 tokens per minute, which came to $600 an hour. So he was talking around 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours a night with her, so that was just over $2,000 just for talking to someone. I was just like, really? Come on, I can talk to you.
Should we get them My Free Cams account?
Yeah, I guess so.
Just to talk to people?
But yeah, and he started just spiraling from there, because he started sending her gifts, he started sending her money for her to explicitly do stuff for him, like film videos and cosplay and pretend that she was his girlfriend and this and that. And if you can imagine, for all those extras, he was paying more and more and more. And he was paying with someone else's money.
So you've mentioned obviously it's very expensive for just to be there and talk to that person. So how much money actually he stole?
Well, by November 2018, he spent $200,000
Oh my
on
God.
Sylvie. And that was, as I said, not just talking to her, but all those extras. Because for me, it was like when I read about it, it was like a drug addict. Like you need your next dose, and
Yeah.
you need more. You need it stronger. And I feel like that's what happened to him, because he was just like, he didn't care about anything else, I think.
Yeah, he was addicted, yeah.
Yeah, because his family actually, they did find out all those charges on their credit cards and their bank accounts, and they asked him, but his excuse was like, I'm just advertising my streaming channel and I'm investing in my
So he lied. So
Yeah,
he never committed to it before. But he
Yes,
spoke with that lady, yeah.
Yeah, because bear in mind, they have no idea what's that website. And even if they went to it, it obviously looks like some porn website, which is not unusual for a man to go to that kind of website. But just because it was such a big amount of money, at some point he was spending $20,000 a night.
Oh my God.
I've read a lot of comments and like people's opinions about this, and they were like, well, how they didn't realize earlier. And I guess like not everyone's checking their bank all the time, especially when you know you have your savings and they're just there. So they're not gonna go every day and check, oh, is there something missing?
So you've mentioned that obviously he spent a lot of money. His parents were rich, but they weren't billionaires.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say rich. I would say like a middle-class Americans.
Right, okay.
But not like poor.
So I guess obviously that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Did he steal just from his parents or did he steal from someone else?
By November 2018, he was stolen like those $200,000. So that's when the big argument started, because his parents found out about all those money. At this point, he's only stolen from them.
Right.
And from his brother, no one else. Then, because of those arguments, as I said, Cody, his brother, he was the peacemaker. He was like, I'm gonna help you pay everything you own. I'm gonna make everything better. I just want you to get out of this situation. And he was trying to calm his parents down as well, because at some point his father had enough. He was like, you're 30 years old, grown-ass man. Get your shit together. But as I said, Cody was trying to keep everything like normal and to try to help his brother. So he suggested they would go on a holiday to Japan with Cody's friend. So Cody, Grant, and Cody's friend, they're booking a trip to Japan. Grant is jobless. He doesn't have the money, so Cody pays for everything. The flights, the hotels, the food, the souvenirs, everything that they sold there. And obviously you have to pay for some attractions and stuff. You know how expensive it can be. And
yeah, definitely.
They went to Japan, they had a great time, and Cody thought, okay, that's gonna be the way Grant will get distracted. He'll see there's something more to life than a computer and a person that you've never even met. I guess that's what made Cody do this. But even if it wasn't for that, he loved his brother. He wanted him to get better. So he was like, I'm gonna make this, do this nice thing for him. I'm gonna take him to Japan. I'm gonna pay for everything. And he's gonna know that there is more important stuff. So they had their fun time in Japan. They visited a lot of anime studios and museums because they were all into anime. And
perfect place to go.
Yeah. And one of the days, though, Grant wasn't feeling well, so he decided to stay at the hotel. Cody and his friend, they're going out, and they walk around, they spend the day sightseeing and stuff like that. And at some point, Cody's friend's parents, they call him, and they're like, oh, listen, we just got a notification from your bank that there is some weird charges on your credit card. There is some website, My Free Comes. What are you spending all those money for? $600 here and there. And Cody's friend is obviously, well, I don't even have my credit card, I left it at the hotel. So what are you talking about? And his parents obviously told him, well, you better go back and see, maybe someone stole it.
Yes, of course.
So he hung up and he tells Cody all that information. And as you can imagine, Cody knows straight away, oh, my brother is doing that shit again. So he tells his friend, they go back to the hotel, and Grant is not there. He was in some coffee shop or wherever where he could use the Wi-Fi to talk to Sylvie. So they wait for him in the hotel for a while. He comes back, and I feel like that's where Cody lost it. He literally tried everything to help his brother, even with his first arrest, which was for a completely different thing. He was the one there for him, and now he's taking advantage not just of him, but his friend as well. Which, can you imagine how embarrassing this is?
I'm surprised he lasted that long, to be honest. I don't think I would have enough patience to help someone for so long.
Yeah.
Pay for everything, go there just to find out that your own brother steal from your best friend.
Well, that's why I wanted to specify in the beginning how close they were.
Yeah.
Literally 1 year difference. They're like, I'm not gonna say twins, but they're so like best friends, like, and obviously their family also.
It broke his heart.
And obviously he doesn't know about that girl yet, but
yeah, but obviously something clearly is going on. So you've mentioned that the parents, obviously the whole family, wanted to help Grant and took him to rehab.
The rehab thing happened a while after, though, because when they came back from Japan, Cody told their parents of what happened in Japan, and his dad was so angry. His dad was quite a proud man. He's been working his own life to support his family, to have all the things they had, to build up that. Because as I said, they had money, but they weren't rich. For everything they had, they worked very hard for. And his dad was just angry. And from what I saw, his mom was mostly sad that everything's just happening this way. And she felt hopeless in a way. When that argument started, that was on January 19th, when they came back from Japan. We were going into 2019 now. Because remember, that's been going for so long. From the summer, he got fired. He was jobless, streaming on Twitch, went into that obsession. Then in November, they realized how much money were missing. December, his brother's taking him to the trip to Japan. And then when they came back on 19th of December, things are very bad at this point when his family finds out he stole from someone else also. And they decide, okay, enough is enough, you need to get your shit together. But Grant is he's just upset that they're angry with him, and he just leaves the house. His mom is very worried because the only text she received from him after he left the house that night, it was, I'm very tired of everything, and I quote, I'm very tired of everything, I'm gonna deal with it in my own way. So you can imagine, as a mother, she probably feels like he's suicidal, he's depressed and all that. And she calls the police. And the police track his license plate to his aunt's house. So they contact the aunt and she says, yes, he's here. I'm quite worried though, because he seems in a distress. He's very quiet. He doesn't talk a lot. She locked all the guns in the house because they also thought he might be suicidal. At this point, they just have Grant's family only have a contact with the aunt. They don't talk to Grant really. So she tells them that he sleeps all day, he's up all night, and it's just, she feels like he needs the time to get better, because at the moment he seems very depressed. So she allows him to stay in her home. Obviously they take all the precautions for him to stay there. After a while, we're coming to a January, obviously, and now it's 2019. He's still doing the same thing. He's just stealing from different people because his aunt found out from her bank statements that there was a lot of money missing, and not just from her account, but from her husband's account and from Grant's grandmother account as well. That's why he's sleeping all day and he's up all night talking to Sylvie. Because don't forget, Sylvie is from Bulgaria, so it's completely different time zone.
Yeah.
A lot of time difference. She calls Grant's father, Chad, and she tells him, listen, I have all those charges on my bank account and I just don't understand. The only thing that's changed is Grant is living with us and that's the website the charges are accounted for. And she says it's my free cams. And Chad just breaks down. He told her, I feel like he wasn't that type of person who would normally cry, but he was at this point. He was just so desperate maybe. And he told her everything, that he was not gonna retire because of how much money Grant has stolen. He told her about the $200,000. He told her that he drained their all life savings. He ruined their family and they're never gonna be able to come back from that. As you can imagine, that was just the cherry on the top. The father, Chad, the mother, Margaret, Cody, and also Jason, the oldest son, they drive to the aunt's house. They park outside and they call the aunt, they call Grant, and Grant comes out, where I guess they have intervention with him. And they tell him that that needs to stop. It's enough now, he needs help. And they're telling him, you're going to that institution we found and you have to do it. You have no choice. And at that point, because I've watched the trial, and Jason, the oldest one, the only one that survived, he just said that Cody, he was so frustrated that he grabbed Grant by the shoulder, but it wasn't like he was gonna hit him or something. He was just trying to shake him off. Yeah, and it's like, at this point, Jason intervened and he said, look guys, let's calm down. Grant will agree to go and he will get the help he needs. We just need to be patient and we need to stay together as a family. And something of that sort. But Grant, the thing was, he was just sitting there and being quiet, which I guess it wasn't unusual for him because that's the kind of person he was. And he just walked to the car. Jason went home as he didn't live with them. But four of them, Margaret, Chad, Cody and Grant, they drove to the rehab, which was actually rehab for drug addicts and alcoholism. Yeah, they paid $15,000 for him to stay there for 60 days though. I felt like that's when they felt that there is hope.
Yeah.
Because he agreed to this. They didn't make him, they didn't have to drag him to the car. He walked to the car and he went willingly, didn't he?
Yeah.
So yeah. So what was your question? I'm sorry, I forgot, because I started to go so into it.
No, what happened after the rehab?
Yeah, that was, the thing is, after rehab, he didn't even stay there for 60 days.
Oh, really?
So that was a very strange to me, because I guess if I pay for 60 days, I would expect the full treatment. But I guess they didn't even know how to treat him, and they released him after only 14 days, just because he knew what to say, I guess. He was saying that he's gonna throw out his cell phone, his computer, and he's never gonna use the internet again.
Yeah. All this bullshit just to get away.
Yeah, exactly. But as I said, he got released. But I think it's more important to tell you what happened while he was in rehab, because that was the moment when everything unraveled, because his dad, Chad, and Cody decided to hack into his computer.
Oh.
And you can imagine what they found.
Yeah.
So they went to that website. They saw everything, all the conversations with Sylvie. And also, there was a full-on community there supporting Sylvie and they were all friends. Like Grant had that life with those online friends and his online girlfriend. It was completely different from what he was in real life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
It was just like, and he was lying to all of them because he was saying he was some rich guy driving BMW, having the big house, living there on his own. And it's like, shut up, loser. You live in your parents' basement.
And they pay for everything.
But yeah, what happened after rehab, it's Grant went home and his father had some pretty strict rules for him. So he's made a full-on contract.
Okay.
Like, and it was all of his rules stated there. It was like, you either move out, go live in a hotel, or find an apartment, pay for everything yourself.
Yeah.
Or go to the military. Or, if you want to stay home, you need to obey to those rules. And the rules were, you apologize to the family, you find a job, you pay the money back. Obviously, they don't want the money straight away, but slowly pay the money back. And also, you're not allowed internet, you're not allowed a phone with internet, you're not allowed to stay up night and use the internet. And when I'm telling you this, you probably think, well, was he 16 or something? But no, he was 30 years old. It's just so weird. Even
I'm
when
surprised they kept him in, seriously. I understand everything. I know it's a family, they want to get him back on track. But would you, as a mom? I don't know. I would probably just give up on him.
as I
It
said,
might be selfish, but so he did so much damage to the family,
yeah,
and yet still a 30 years old grown up man
yeah.
is being told that he needs to stick to the rules, which I believe that's what he didn't do.
Well, I guess that's where I think like they really wanted to help him, and as I said, his mom was mostly sad. So his dad was the one who was making all those rules, and when he saw those rules, he felt, I guess, like he didn't have choice. Like he has no money, where he's gonna go?
Yeah.
And I felt like his father maybe felt the same. He felt like, well, I know he doesn't have choice, so he would agree to that and he would change.
Yeah.
I guess, like, I don't know. Obviously, I don't have children, so I don't know what they thought. But in the end of the day, he did agree. But the biggest problem for Grant, I think, is when his father told him that he's revealed everything to Sylvie and his online friends.
Oh.
And that's where, I feel like that's where Grant actually went crazy.
Cuckoo, yeah.
Yeah. However, he did agree to the rules. He agreed to stay in the house, and everything seems perfectly normal after, for short period of time, unfortunately. But yeah, his mom was just seeing him being depressed and being so sad that at some point she just started giving him her phone to use. So he could contact Sylvie and he could still talk to her, even though he knew the rules.
Yeah, he broke the rules, yeah.
But unfortunately, when his dad found out, he kicked him out, and that's what happened on 24th of January. And obviously we know what happened after that.
You've mentioned that when police found him, he found the rubber gloves, leather gloves, stolen credit cards, debit cards, etc. But you also mentioned about a note. Do you know what sort of note did they found?
To tell you about the note, actually, I need to tell you a little bit more of how the crime scene looked like.
Okay.
I'll show you the house first. Cody's body was found next to the garage door, as you can see. And then you have Margaret's body in her office, laid down on top of her computer. And then you have Chad's body on the kitchen floor. The crime scene was staged like this to look like it was a murder-suicide.
Right. Okay.
So first, when the police had a look in the house, it looked like Cody has murdered his dad, his mom, and then he killed himself. So actually that note that they found with Grant was written to look like Cody wrote it to Grant.
Right.
But later on, actually, they realized that was the note that Grant has written himself to look like it was Cody. And the note, actually, I read it to you. It says, "Brother, they just told me what happened. Dad told you to pack your shit and get the fuck out of his house because you were caught texting that woman again. Grant, I'll take care of all of your problems. I just need you back. I can't live without you, brother." I said I'd take care of all of your problems, and I have. No one will bother you again regarding this. Just please come home. I can't do this again. If you think I'm part of the problem here, then I've really lost you. I can't take that loss after everything. The last part of the note is, "There is nothing I can say to change your mind on this. I love you, Atatui," which I guess it's some nickname in between them, "and I wish you felt the same. I was going to come after you again, but what's the point?"
Jesus.
After the first arrest of Grant, he does say about meeting Cody on his way out, and apparently Cody told him, "I'll take care of them." So yeah, that was what the note was all about. It was all staged, obviously, because with the evidence later on, it was so clear, the motive, and the bodies were moved in the house also. There was guns placed on the bodies or next to the bodies, the guns that the shells of the bullets didn't match to, and it was just crazy. I just thought, like, it's so sad that the person who loved him the most, he wanted to pin it on him. And I was like, really, Grant? You're such a loser.
Yeah. Actually. No, it's just so sad thinking that the whole family did everything they could and he killed them just, with no guilt, because he wanted to make a perfect murder-suicide, crime rather than actually him killing everyone and trying to pin it on his brother.
Yeah, I just thought it's because about this case, I found out from YouTube. All the trial is on YouTube. You can watch it. They obviously removed all the pictures from the crime scenes and the most disturbing parts, but you can see it all there. And the saddest part was like when his oldest brother Jason was testifying. And I'm telling you, like, you can tell this person is so devastated from what happened. And Grant, he was like a stone cold Steve Austin. I'm telling you, he didn't have expression on his face, not even a tear. Apparently, from what I've read, he cried when they showed his parents and his brother dead bodies, but
was it real or was it crocodile tears?
I didn't see
just
it.
To get a lower sentence.
I didn't see it, so I cannot confirm or deny, but I just thought it's just crazy. And also the defense, his lawyers, I think the police found a little bit of weed in the house when they went to investigate, and the defense was just going like, "Oh, it's a drug deal go wrong. It's not Grant's fault. He didn't have a motive. He was just in love." And I was like, "Oh, that's perfect." And the prosecution, though, they had it all lined up. So they had the whole day presented to the jury, like from what happened since Margaret was home that day on the January 24th, yeah? So the last activity on her computer was at 4:44, and they reckon that's when the murder started. So they reckon Grant went into her office, shot her on the back of the head, hence why she was laying down on her computer, because you can see there was like a glass of wine next to her, and you could see there was no fight or whatsoever. She was just shot, like executed. And then obviously Chad was finishing work. He came back home. He started preparing dinner, and he was shot twice on the back of the head. He had a gun on his hip, which later on was proven that it was placed there because it was placed like backwards for a right-handed shooter. So if you're gonna shoot with your right hand, your gun's gonna be on this side, but it was on the other side. And Chad was right-handed. Also, his body was moved, because you can see even on the pictures kind of, there was like a crow marks through the floor. He was shot once, then he obviously tried to crawl to the door or to his phone or whatsoever, and he was shot again, and then he died. And then there was text sent from Chad's phone to Cody's phone after his death, and on that text he was basically saying, Cody, please come back home. I had an argument with Grant. He's doing it all over again. Don't go out after work. Just come home straight away. And that night, Cody said to his girlfriend, I can't see you tonight because I need to go home and deal with the family shit. So he finished work at 9:15, and he drove home. He parked near the garage or in the garage, and they think Grant was hiding in the garage actually. So when Cody walked into the house, he shot him from the back as well. Then he placed a gun next to him, not the same gun that he shot him with, but they found all the four shells. So the one that shot Margaret, one that shot Cody, and the two that shot Chad. They found them spread around the house, but there wasn't the same gun shells from that gun that was near Cody. It was all staged.
Of course.
And do you know what I found the most disturbing?
What?
After that, there was money transferred from Chad's phone to Grant's bank account. And it was through his phone app. So he wiped his dead dad finger, unlocked his phone to send himself money. When I was reading, I couldn't believe that's real. But he murdered his entire family. He's packing his shit and he's going to a grocery shop parking lot to log into the Wi-Fi and speak to Sylvie.
Oh my god, it's just no words for him. So what was his sentence? How many years he got?
Life.
Life.
He got life in prison.
Good.
And to be honest, I don't even know how the defense thought they can turn it around. I don't even know why they didn't advise him to plead guilty. I guess that's not how it works. But to me, it would be like, well,
yeah, there's no chance.
It's so obvious.
You never know. Sometimes the trials are so premeditated that you can still get away with it. So maybe he had high hopes,
Yeah. I just couldn't believe he could do this shit, man. And when he spoke, the first time when they arrested him, and they brought his brother Jason, obviously, to talk to him. And to me, it's like he didn't even tell his own brother what he's done. So can you imagine how bad was he? Like, he didn't care about anyone but that girl. I feel like he was in completely different world, on a different planet even.
Yeah, like you said at the beginning.
Yeah.
This is mad, man.
So, what are your thoughts?
Honestly, this case just leaves me with a really heavy feeling. Not because it was super loud, but it was just so quiet, so eerie. It just shows that how obsession and isolation can grow silently right in front of the people that care about you, that love you. Well, what sticks with me the most is how something so devastating can build in such a silence.
Yeah, I think I felt the same when I first discovered this case, because it's just so weird that you can betray that the people that they loved you the most in your life, and just rather live that fantasy and like that life that wasn't even real. I don't know what he thought really. Like, did he think that he's gonna marry that girl and fly to Bulgaria and live on sunny beach or whatever? It's just,
Yeah.
the thing is, and also I just find it so weird that it got this far, because obviously even when he committed the murders, he had time in between, since he killed his mother, until his father got home, and then until his brother got home. He had all that time to change his mind, and to think, okay, that went too far, I need to stop now. So, but he didn't, he just went all in. And I'm thinking, because obviously when they found him with the passports and stuff, I was thinking he was planning to fly to Bulgaria, literally.
It wouldn't surprise me, yeah. It wouldn't surprise me, but I don't think Sylvie would even bother to see him.
Of course she wouldn't.
I'm sure she was, you know, a lucky girl gaining so much money from a stupid guy who thought that it's the love of his life.
Yeah.
But it was just a facade. Obviously, fair play to her, but he's just being stupid. It just shows that obsession. You know, the isolation. You said he didn't really had that many friends, right?
Yeah.
He lost the job. He probably started being depressed, and yeah, he just went crazy. And that's our another podcast teller. He doesn't really say much, but he looks cute.
But yes, guys, today's case was very, very strange, because for normal people, you could never imagine doing something like this, or some people from your family doing anything like this. I hope you did find it interesting, though. I hope you did, Marta, as well.
I did, yes. I will watch it. I will watch the trial you set on YouTube, and you told me so much about this case, but I'm sure there is so much more to be revealed that we need to dig deeper.
There is some news even from this year about Grant Amato. He apparently had a girlfriend outside of prison while he's in prison, obviously, but apparently they hired a hitman for her boyfriend or husband, and now she's sentenced as well. But obviously that's not related to this case. But yeah, Grant was a fucked up guy, did a fucked up thing, and he deserves what he got.
Definitely.
And that's the end of our story, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, guys, please like, subscribe, and see you next time.
See ya!
Bye-bye!